Illinois lawmakers adopted a statewide ban on the sale of assault-style weapons over a year ago. The measure allowed people to keep firearms bought legally before the ban took effect if they register their weapons. State House reporter Mawa Iqbal and data reporter Amy Chin tell Justin Bull from Chicago Public Media's WBEZ their reporting of registration rates across the state shows very few people are registering their firearms. Here's Amy Chin.
Data from the Illinois State Police shows that there were 29,000 people registering banned assault weapons, ammunition, and accessories before the January 1st deadline under the law, which is called the Protect Illinois Communities Act. But just to put that number into context, we looked at the registration rate among licensed gun owners and found that that 29,000 number actually represents just 1.2% of all licensed gun owners in Illinois.
Yeah, 1.2% seems very low. Mawa, why are registration rates so low?
Yeah, so I was talking to Adam Winkler earlier this week. He was a UCLA professor who studies gun policy, and he was saying that, Illinois is not unique in the sense that any gun registration historically in any part of the country has been quite low. Registration rates have been quite low. And he says that the biggest reasons for this is that, one, people may not even know that the law exists. They just don't maybe pay attention to the news or they're not familiar with gun policy, so they just don't know that they have to register. There's also, quite a few people who own these types of firearms who do so out of a political statement or they want to sort of make a statement that, no one has the right to take my guns away. There's that reason. There's also, in Illinois specifically, many different lawsuits have been filed against this law, challenging it on its constitutionality, both in state and federal court. And it's something that I've been hearing, too, that people are really confused as to, what were the outcomes of these lawsuits? Is the law still in effect? So there's also that to consider.
Right. And Amy, you looked at registration rates by county as well. Were there certain areas that had higher or lower registration rates?
Yeah, definitely. Statewide, registration rates are low, but we found that the lowest rates were actually in rural counties downstate. So places like Jasper, Calhoun, White counties, they had the lowest rates. But the places with the highest rates were these more populous counties around urban centers like Kendall and suburban Chicago. But one outlier actually was Cook County itself, which is by far the most populated county in the state. But it actually had a registration rate that was lower than most other urban counties. And we think that might be because, it had a similar assault weapons ban put in place over a decade ago in 2013.
Interesting. Mawa, what's been the response from local law enforcement in these rural downstate counties?
There isn't really a way for law enforcement to really enforce the law. Like, it's not like they are going door to door, knocking on people's, doors to be like, hey, do you have an AR-15? And if so, is it registered with the state? But regardless of that, when this law first went into effect a year ago, we counted that there were about 80 or so sheriffs across the state that said that they were not going to be complying with this law. Yeah, a lot of people downstate really were upset with the law and found it to be unconstitutional in the sense that it violated their Second Amendment rights to bear arms. A lot of the lawsuits that I mentioned earlier that were filed in state and federal courts were coming out of downstate courts and people who represented downstate gun groups. So it's definitely, there's been a lot of contention from this part of the state, for sure.
That was State House reporter Mawa Iqbal and data reporter Amy Chin speaking with Justin Bull from WBEZ.